the claims, there didn't seem to be anything outstanding except for the RCS construction, huge, claim of $308,000. That's probably,
Correct. So that's our well number 8 project, and again, we make those payments in advance, and then we submit to the state to get reimbursed through our SRF loan. So, yeah, it's kind of a pass-through.
anything otherwise outstanding here?
No, really, we haven't. You know, the Todd and the guys have been doing a good job of being mindful of spending, and we really haven't had any. We're finalizing up on Silver Street. That was a clean water SRF, which is sewer. So only the sewer components of that were eligible for that SRF. So there was a portion of the project that was both capital improvement general fund, which would be your streets, your pavement, your curb and gutter, your sidewalks. And then as a part of that project also, we replaced the water mains and the curb stops and the shut-offs. And so that portion comes out of the capital improvement water fund. So you'll likely see some of that here in the near future, but that was all kind of accounted for when we put the projects together, and should all be good to go. We're not gonna have to try and find any money to pay for. I mean, it's all.
In your mind, we're on budget for everything?
We are, yeah, and you know, working through the 2026 budget, we've got a good plan in place, and our revenues, I mean, we have a balanced budget. We're able to ensure that we have all of the correct amounts in our restricted accounts, and when we talk about restricted accounts, our restricted monies, those are the things, because of our SRF loans, part of the loan obligation states that we'll have in a restricted account 110% of the annual payments. So, you know, when we do these projects, we know what our loan payments are, and whether they're quarterly or sometimes they're set up annually or sometimes monthly. But at the end of the day, we know yearly we owe X amount of dollars to repay these loans, and per the grant agreement, we have to have at least 110% of that. So we have to have in excess of what we're paying by 10%. We have made sure that we have that available. It's in our accounts, and that we're still able to try and bank some money. We are still, for 2026, we're proposing to transfer some money out that goes into the general fund to help balance that side of the books.
So most of the payment times when we have to have the money, the council's already has a meeting where they can prove it on a timely basis. Yeah. So it all flows.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I have no further questions on
Claims?
the claim.
So this is your first thing?
Yep.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Approved. Financial officer report.
Ann is not in this morning. She did send me a note as of 5 p.m. yesterday. Of course, today is shut-off day. As of 5 p.m. yesterday, we had 13 accounts that were on that. And Robin and Dylan do a good job of reaching out. So we would assume usually by about 10 a.m. we get that list, and there should be quite a few less than even the 13. So that's kind of where we're at. And then Ann is still working with, she's been meeting with the auditors, and we're going through getting the 2024 audit is ongoing right now. So hopefully maybe next month she'll have something to report on that and kind of where we sit.
Okay, thank you. Any customer concerns? Water superintendent report.
Todd is out today, so no report there.
Okay. Public works director
So again, we're just kind of wrapping up probably in the next 2 weeks. We'll be wrapping up our Well 8 project. Last Thursday, they set the generator, and they were busy, I know, on Friday. I didn't hear if they got done getting that all wired up, but we're really getting close to being done with that project. So we'll be closing that out, and hopefully in the near future, maybe we can have set up a time for you guys to all come out and take a look at our new well and the facilities there. Otherwise, the guys have been busy with the Harvest Meadows subdivision, all of the water mains and sewer mains in the first half of that. So everything to the east side of Avalanche Road has been installed, and of course, our guys are doing the taps on those for all the service lines. We've got all the lots addressed, so been quite a bit of time spent on that. But certainly moving forward, they had planned, they were gonna start curb and gutter yesterday, but the weather kind of prohibited that, so maybe by the end of the week or early next week, we'll see some curb and gutter going in out there. Not sure it will be weather dependent on the paving, whether that gets done this year or not. So those are kind of the big things that I had to talk about. And then lastly, under my report is wanted to talk to the board about our recent authorization from the council to request proposals for municipal solid waste and collection and disposal. And as we've been talking about for some time, I think that the goal for the council in moving forward is probably for the MUB to be more involved and be the sounding board for all of the municipal utilities, not just water. As we go through the recodification process over the next year to 18 months, we will likely bring our MUB regulations up and codify them into an ordinance. And at that time, we're talking about creating an ordinance, a title that has all of the sanitation, the wastewater, and the water, basically all of the city utilities in one ordinance, which makes it more efficient, easier for people to find what the regulations are. And this would be the board that kind of governs those and makes recommendations to the council, not just solely on the water side of things. So that's why I kind of brought this forward to you, and certainly wanted to give a explanation of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And you know, the item that we're talking about, this RFP for municipal solid waste collection and disposal, is at this point in time, it's simply a information gathering tool that we're trying to use, a way for the city to evaluate our operations, our costs, service models, so that we can make informed decisions moving forward on how best to serve the residents of Sturgis. And you know, for the last several months, we've been operating with only 2 sanitation operators, and so we've only got 2 guys that 7 days a week we're collecting garbage, and we're doing the recycling and the yard waste at exit 32. Those guys haven't had a day off since pretty much the rally. I mean, because we have to operate. We've had open job positions. We just don't get the applications that we need to get. I don't know why that is. You know, there are some criteria that we have to have. You have to have a commercial driver's license to be able to drive a garbage truck. And of course, you know, all of our residential garbage is hauled to Belfouche. So we're putting a lot of wear and tear on our trucks. We had one of our rear loader trucks, which we use for our recyclables and our cardboard, went down a couple of months ago and to a point where it can't be repaired. We have ongoing equipment issues that again, we've got to maintain safe, reliable equipment, especially when we're traveling, out of town on the roadways, and it right now is a struggle, and so, we have an equipment replacement plan put in place, but we've had to defer that a couple of times, and right now we're short 2 trucks, and to replace those 2 trucks is $750,000. I mean, it's about $750,000 to replace those trucks. So that's hard to put into our budget without having to raise rates. I mean, that's the option is when we talk about our enterprise funds, which are our water, our sewer, our sanitation. The rates that you guys pay, the account holders pay, the residents pay, that's what funds those operations. That's why we have a monthly bill. It's not general fund money, and it's not coming from property tax, and it's not coming from sales tax. It's coming out of the enterprise funds. And even when we talk about equipment replacement, I mean, that's generally where that stuff comes out of on the enterprise funds, is the enterprise funds pay for their own. We have a half of a penny that comes from sales tax that goes into our other general fund equipment replacement, but the enterprise funds generally fund their own. So it takes a lot of money. We got to have a lot of reserves to continue to operate. And so when we look at those things, one of the things that comes forward is we can't continue to operate in the manner we are. It's not feasible from a resource, from both funding, from manpower, from equipment. So we have to evaluate what components of how we operate make sense and what parts don't make sense. And so this is what that RFP does, is we're gathering all this information to better evaluate, can we save money? Can we continue to have low garbage rates and maybe even reduce them and still offer the same level of service if we're not doing it? Can we put together better services? And one of the things we want to look at when it comes to recycling is curbside recycling. Wouldn't it be a benefit, should you want to recycle, that you could pay a monthly fee of $5 or $6 a month and have curbside, where you don't have to take it out to exit 32. I mean, you can simply put it out and pull it out with your trash can, on your garbage day. Wouldn't have to do that because not everybody participates in that. So it would be on a basis where we offer the service and you can choose whether or not to participate in it. So the people that want to do that, I think that would be a benefit, would be willing to do that. The people that don't want to do that don't have to do that. So it gives us choices, but it also takes away all of our time and energy and our liabilities at the exit 32 site. And what we do see more and more at the exit 32 site is a lot of items are being collected and brought from outside of our community. And really honestly, when you boil that down, all of our residents, our taxpayers are subsidizing these people from outside of the area to bring that in. And we're all subsidizing doing that. And a lot of why that's happening is in a lot of communities, a lot of areas, these services are going away. They don't provide a place for people to take this stuff because the commodities, the market, I mean, it costs so much money to truck these recyclable items to somewhere where they can be recycled, that the cost outweighs, the revenue. And again, in business, a business isn't going to last very long if they're spending more money than they're making. The city can't last very long if we spend more than what our revenue bringing in is. So we have to look at those things and come up with creative ways to still offer that level of service that our customers are accustomed to and want, but how can we do it better and more efficiently and costly? And this, this RFP is gonna allow us to have information to evaluate that. So at this point in time, that's all we've done is put out a request for proposals. We will gather that information, evaluate it, bring it back to the council with some recommendations. Doesn't mean we're gonna go third party. We may not. We may go full third party. We may not. I mean, we have to evaluate what the proposals say and how they can accommodate. You know, we have things to consider. For example, the special events that we have, the rally. I mean, will they be able to come in and do that and do it in the same manner? It's got to be done that we've been doing it. And what I mean by that is, you know, they got to come in and collect garbage at 2 a.m. in the morning so that we can clean this. I mean, because there's other parts to it that we can clean the streets and we can do this piece and do that piece. And when you lose that control, so to speak, of our guys doing that work, you know, if they don't show up or they're an hour late, might not be a big deal to them, but it in the overall function of pulling that event off and that cleanup, I mean, that's a big deal. So those are things that we got to make sure can happen. Our city, our community has invested greatly in our sanitation program, and we have a lot of dollars in carts and totes and things like that. And so even with the rally, I mean, we put out hundreds of extra totes. You know, part of what we're going to evaluate is would we retain that stuff and rent it to a third party if we went that way? Would they buy it? I mean, there's just a lot of moving parts to try and understand and figure out what we want to do and how we want to do it. But have had some conversations with people in that industry, and I do believe that we'll see some significant potential savings. I mean, number one, even in our equipment, we won't have to maintain a large equipment fleet. Our mechanics, I mean, my mechanics are working on garbage trucks every single day, and that will go away, which will free them up to better service and do more repairs on other equipment. And you know, we handle the whole city fleet with exception for the ambulance and the fire department. So we're working on cop cars, we're working on parks vehicles, we're working on mowers, we're working on, you know, the liquor store's van. I mean, all these different things. And so to free up, I mean, the garbage trucks usually have a little bit of a higher priority because we got to keep them on the road, we got to pick up garbage. So again, by freeing that up, it gives them more opportunities to do better on the rest of our fleet. So really where we're at right now is just on a fact gathering mission, and from that we hope to be able to evaluate that and come back with some good recommendations that make sense, that could potentially help not only our budget and our finances, our revenues, you know, and it's not just the sanitation budget we're looking at, because the effects are full gamut, and you know, how would we handle work orders, and likely we would still bill out the garbage would be on your utility bill, but then we would in turn pay the third party. So lots of pieces to evaluate and come back with recommendations, but that's kind of where we're at and what we have in mind, and would be happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
Our landfill, there's someone up there at the office that checks that a person has your utility bill. Our recycle area, you probably couldn't afford to do that to keep
So interesting, and we've contemplated where best to have the recycling, and if you remember, prior to building the Public Works campus, it used to sit right there out the back door of my office. Was much smaller. The rubble site, so two different things. There's a landfill, which is Belfouche and Rapid City, which take everything to include household waste, garbage. We're a restricted use rubble site permitted by the state. We used to be a landfill decades ago, but the push through the DNR was to regionalize. They didn't want to have landfills everywhere. They want to regionalize them and make sure that they can properly monitor and regulate where this stuff goes. So we can only take certain items up at our rubble site. Household garbage we can't. That's why we take it to Belfouche. So even bringing things like the rubble or the recyclables up there, we would have to work with DNR to fit that into our permit. And some of what we've heard is, you know, you can take your yard waste and things up there, but a lot of people didn't want to have to go up there. You know, they felt that was a burden to have to go clear to the rubble site to bring those items. And so we tried to, when we opened the exit 32, was provide a convenient place for people to drop these things off. And
It has been a marvelous place to do that.
yeah, those are things we got to evaluate and again, whether we do some side of a curbside pickup, different ways to do cardboard, and one of the things that we don't have, but one of the things that we've talked through with some of these other people, they have roll-off trailers that have slots in them. And what that does is it makes sure you break down the cardboard or it won't fit in the slot. And then these roll-offs have compactors on them, and so we can collect that much more. I mean, the amount of cardboard that we collect daily, we just can't sustain. And every morning, I have to send my street crews out for the first 3 hours of the day, and that's all they do is cardboard. Because the sanitation guys we can't do all of that. Those two guys, I mean, it takes them to do the commercial routes and the residential routes. There's no time for them in the 9-hour day to do all the cardboard. So my street guys, my wastewater guys, are every morning going out and doing cardboard before they're able to start doing their jobs, fixing our streets, you know, jetting our sewer pipes, doing those type of things. So again, we've realized we can't sustain that. I mean, it's not fair, you know, and also we're crossing over where we're spending general fund money, street money, on an enterprise fund. I mean, the sanitation should be able to be self-sufficient and support and pay, you know, for those services. So there's a couple of different reasons why we don't want to do that, and it's not a good practice. I mean, we can get by doing it for a little while, but again, you know, I need to have my street guys out fixing streets, not picking up cardboard. And again, the cardboard, there's no money. I mean, it's all, we pick up cardboard at I mean, dozens and dozens of businesses free of charge. There's no, I mean, you don't get billed for that. That's just how it's always been. And so again, the exit 32 cardboard ban, I mean, I've caught U-Haul trucks from other communities, from big businesses, big box stores, dumping cardboard there because it's free. I mean, it just would blow your mind the amount of, I guess, maybe abuse, because that's not what it was set up for. It was set up for our residents to have a place, to our tax-paying residents. And again,
Is there signage out there?
there is, but when you don't have somebody there, like Tom mentioned, you know, you got a guy up at the shack checking in loads. When you don't have that and it's on an honor system, you know, people certainly will abuse that. And again, when we're not making any revenue on cardboard, how can I justify having an employee sitting there checking water cards? At least at the rubble site, at some level, there's revenue being brought in because, you know, per ordinance, you're allowed to dump 1 truckload a month. So the majority of what's coming up there through the construction debris and through general contractors and whatnot. I mean, we're collecting revenue on that, right? We're making money. We can justify having the FTEs up there, but on something like the Exit 32 where there's no generation of revenue and it's simply a cost, to add another cost of having an employee sit there just doesn't make any sense. We can't do that.
Rick, this is a technical question. For a garbage truck to empty itself, like it goes to Belfouche and empties its garbage. Is that what other trucks are pulling in there and emptying their garbage too from other communities, or?
To Belfouche?
Yeah.
A number of them. I mean, they're either going to Belfouche or Rapid City, whichever probably is closer. For us, it's much easier to go to Belfouche. It's a quicker round trip for us than you guys know that the landfill for Rapid City is on the south side of Rapid City. So to navigate through there and going through the scales and just takes a much longer time. And again, we're trying to get those trucks packed out down to Belfouche. They may not be done with their route, and that's one of the things that's hard to explain to people too, is they're like, well, geez, my garbage gets picked up at 8 o'clock every morning on my garbage. Well, no, it doesn't, because we can't control when our truck gets full, and they may go out and they may get 2 hours worth of garbage picked up, and then the truck's full. That truck's got to go to Belfouche now, empty, and then come back and finish the route. So we try to stay consistent, but there is no consistency, because I don't know from day to day when that truck is going to be packed out and when it has to go to Belfouche to unload.
But that's how you empty, that's how Belfouche receives their garbage from typical garbage trucks.
So yeah, they've got a couple of different ways. They have what they call loose fill, where we just back up to a big hole, and those trucks empty like a dump truck. The bed comes up and the back opens up and it pushes out, and or they have the ability where they run it through a sorter and it sorts the materials, and then they do bale some of it up, but we're just charged by the tonnage, by the weight. I mean, so we go over a scale, they weigh the truck, and then when it comes out empty, they weigh it again, and the difference is what we're billed on. Any other questions on
That's great,
solid waste?
great information for the public to know about. Sounds very reasonable.
Correct.
So I'll roll right into our old business, which comes back to our utility rates, and we've been talking about this for the last couple of months now. One of the things that we were asked to do, which is the first time we've ever done it, was, and we knew we had some problems, was kind of to conduct I guess we would call it an internal audit, and we started to see some discrepancies in our accounts and what was being billed, primarily when we would go out and we would switch out a water meter, and Todd and his guys would go out, do it, and it'd be a 2-inch water meter. We'd come back in, do the paperwork and the follow-up on it, and be like, well, geez, they're only being billed for a 1-inch water meter, which there's a significant difference, not only in the base rate, but also in the per 1,000 gallon rate, because it's all dependent on what size of a meter you have, all the way up to a 4 or a 6-inch meter. So we started to see some of those and go, man, how do we correct these? And through no fault of anybody, I mean, the gals over here who were normally doing it in the finance office, I mean, they would have no idea if you have a 2-inch or a 1. I mean, they're simply entering in whatever information they were told, and we kind of identify, man, there's some kind of a disconnect here, because we're the ones that notice it and see it, but yet we don't have any part in this. And so in talking it through with City Administrator Jordan and the mayor and Ann, it's like, we need to have, Public Works, we need to probably take a more active role in putting together our service orders, entering in some of our new account information, so that we can verify these things. And that's really where it started. And in doing that, they said, well, yeah, start taking a look at everything and see what you can come up with. Well, probably one of the bigger things that we weren't expecting to find, but what we did, and kudos to Amy, discovered it right away, was on our sewer billing. We weren't billing correctly, and what was happening on the commercial sewer accounts, it was never set up correctly from the beginning. When we implemented our software program, and every year annually we were updating it. We were putting in, hey, geez, it raised by 3%, 5%, but there were some settings set in there that never ever allowed it to bill anything above the base rate. So, again, sewer at some level is based off of your water consumption, because we don't meter wastewater. So there were some settings in there that, and again, when we have some very high usage, hundreds of thousands of gallons a month that some people use, and an example would be like our mobile home parks where they have a master meter. I mean, that's hundreds of thousands of gallons, and they were only being charged for the base. So it's a significant amount of money. We determined, just doing some rough math, that alone would generate roughly probably another $140,000 to $150,000 in revenue. And we've been missing that for
how long?
long time. So that was one thing that we discovered, and we intend to rectify. We're not going to go back and back bill anybody on any of these things. That's important too, is we're not going to go back and back bill, but moving forward, we've got to bill correctly. And again, if you have a 2-inch or a 4-inch service line, you've got to pay, accordingly. We can't continue to bill you for a 1-inch. I mean, it's just not fair. We've got to bill the commercial sewer correctly. So our intentions are to start that effective January 1st. You got the newsletter yesterday. There is a letter in the newsletter that explains this, that we did this, we performed this audit, we found some inaccuracies. Again, we're trying to correct those. We're not trying to make a hardship on anybody. Our users to bill correctly, because when we don't bill correctly and we have to increase our revenue, that does exactly like what we were talking about. I mean, I got to raise your individual account rates, whereas if we're just simply billing correctly, maybe we don't have to do that. And so in looking at that, I mean, that's one of the things that we recognize, and that's one of the things that we want to propose to you guys, to make a recommendation to the council is a no increase on the base rate. So we're not asking, remember last year we did a 3% on residential and a 5% on commercial. We're not asking for any base rate increase for 2026, because we feel by finding these items that we discovered and billing correctly, that's certainly going to make up that shortage. And again, we're trying to not create a burden on the customers. One of the other things that we talked about is when we historically, I can't ever remember a time when we have increased the per 1,000 gallon rate, and that truly is one of the things that we track and monitor. We know how much it costs us to produce a gallon of water, and when we come up with those amounts, it's based on energy consumption, running the pumps, the chloride, or the chlorine, the fluoride. We're not necessarily including man hours. We're talking about hard cost, what it costs to bring that water out of the ground and put it into our system. And we've never raised that, but we all know that that cost has gone up significantly. I mean, your power bill continues to go up, the chemicals go up, all these things go up, but we've never raised that. And so that was one thing that we really stuck in our mind, is that's something that we need to look at, not just always raise the base rate. And then in addition to that, when we compare to other communities, I mean, it truly is just a smorgasbord. No two communities bill utilities the same. There's different base rates, there's different amounts included in the base rates, there's different fees for the per thousand. So when we looked at it, we're like, well, we'd like to include some gallons should be included in the base rate. You shouldn't pay the base rate and then pay for every gallon of water that you use. And what we came up with was we would like to include in the base rate for 2026 2,000 gallons of water. So when you pay the base rate, that includes 2,000 gallons of water. And what that does, that affects over a third of our accounts who are likely are elderly or are people who are on fixed incomes, are smaller water users. Their utility bill will actually go down a few dollars each month by doing that. So it'll be a reduction. What it does then do is it will increase the people who are using over 2,000 gallons. And the example I gave this morning before we started was, I ran this on my particular account, and I make a choice to water. I've got a sprinkler system, and I like to have a green yard. And so I may water every day or every other day. When I ran my bill in the highest months, which are June, July, and August, my monthly bill would increase by just a little over $5. So again, that's my choice. I can choose to water less. But if I want to continue to have that green yard, I'm willing to pay the $5 a month to do that. So it's not, we're trying to create a incentive, I guess, for those who are using, and part of this is maybe water conservation and not creating a burden on those who probably can't afford it. We're looking at, hey, the people who are high, I mean, maybe they need to cut back on their water a little bit and conserve water, and then their bill won't be as high. But really, it's those high usage accounts that are going to see the greatest impact. And we also looked at what our highest producing accounts per month are. Typically are going to be some hotels, the mobile home parks, things of that nature. Again, it wasn't a significant increase in their monthly bill that would cause them. I mean, I think that over the course of a month, a hotel adding 50 cents to their rate to occupy a hotel room would cover that. So it's not we didn't feel that it was going to create an environment that was going to put anybody out of business or create a hardship. And again, at some level, they can enact protocols and procedures to probably offset that and reduce it.
Previously, we've also mentioned the community center and its use of water.
So
Comment for our community center.
one of the other things that we've looked at and we've actually implemented into the proposed budget is we did take out, we really didn't understand why we had always, and it was primarily water where the city billed the city. And where I'll go with this is even the water department was getting a water department bill for different facilities, which it doesn't really make any sense. So we have removed that, and across the city, it was about $40,000 is what our yearly water consumption for the city was, and so we did remove that out of the water enterprise portion. I mean, it's not a funding. We remove that revenue out of that, and then we remove the expense out of each of the general fund accounts as well. So it ends up balancing, because again, at the end of the day, if we're paying ourselves, that money zeroes out anyways, and the time and energy that we spend billing it out and printing bills and ball fields, the city hall, I mean, anything that has water consumption. So that was a pretty easy go-to. We still have to meter the water, so we're still collecting the data, the how many gallons we're using, because we got to report that. We're not asking for a bill, and you know, the Parks Department in the summertime has a pretty significant, you know, they may have a $3,000 or $4,000 water bill because we're watering ball fields. Well, that again doesn't make any sense to take it from the general fund and put it into an enterprise fund. So that is one of the recommendations as well. And I guess what we're looking at for a recommendation is no increase to the base rate. Include the 2,000 gallons in the base rate, which will, about a third of our customers will see a decrease. Adjust the per 1,000 gallon rate from $2.52 per 1,000 gallons for residential to $3.25, and from commercial from $2.83 to $3.50 per 1,000. We would not ask for any rate increases for either sewer or sanitation, so those would all stay flat as well.
So $2.50 for private to $3.25,
Yep.
and what was commercial?
283 to 350, and that's up per 1,000 gallon after the 2,000 gallons.
Okay. It's on page 19.
And again, some of the rationale behind that is, you know, when we look at across the board where we're at, this, we feel this does maintain affordability and rate stability. It does promote water conservation for some of our high usage customers. It protects the fixed income and the elderly residents who are going to fall within the base rate allowance. And it still ensures adequate revenues for our water operations, our debt coverage, and our capital improvement projects. So we do look at our regional comparisons with Spearfish, Belfouche, Butte Mead Water, and in doing this rate proposal, we are competitive with our neighbors on what other people in those communities are being charged for similar utilities.
So Sean, I hear Rick requesting that our board make a recommendation, reflecting the information he's presented to us. And I would like to move that recommendation.
Okay. Do you have to, does he have to make a statement exactly
Well,
saying this?
As presented, I think is adequate.
Okay,
Second.
okay.
And Rick, I would compliment you. I think over the last several months, this has been emerging, and you've informed us, you've very transparently presented this information, and I think it's very well done, thought out, and reasonable.
And that's you know, that's our goal again, is we have to, like any business, we have to be able to cover our expenses, and we don't necessarily need to make money and build up our, I mean, we have to do some level of that, but reasonable and trying to protect our customers. Again, we wouldn't have any of this if we didn't have our customers, but we always want to, and especially when it comes to water or any of our utilities, you know, provide good, reliable, you know, resources for you guys, give you the best benefit. Again, that's why we're looking at the garbage deal, is we know where the bar is. We're not gonna go below that, but if there's things that we can do that will make it easier, will make it more beneficial to our customers, that's a no-brainer for us to do. I mean, that's what we wanna do, and that will help us to continue forward.
You and Amy will work on the proper wording for what we're approving, recommending today
Yes,
to the council?
correct.
Thank you. I'll vote in favor.
Okay. Yep. All right. Approved.
Well done.
Let's see. So any new business?
Don't have any new business unless there's anything, you guys would like to ask.
Nothing. Other matters that may come before the board? And no executive session?
Nope.